Good morning, Facebook. We're on day 3. As I promised, I wanted to keep going into improving relationship with self. Today's Friday, so for the Muslims, Friday is their holy day, kind of similar to the Christians, where you go to church on Sunday. Our day is Friday. Basically, the day of Friday is kind of like a lecture to kind of just improve your relationship, check in, kind of like a moral boost. And like I kind of already mentioned, these talks were not kind of geared toward one religion. I do believe that all religions, if you do find people that are connected through God and our religion, you learn something from each other. So just going from that. I wanted to go even more into loving yourself more, and what happens if you don't. So basically, uh, improving the relationship with yourself through God and His divine attributes. Um, for example, basically, God is always talking about forgiveness, repentance, being merciful. You basically are an example of character through people and your interactions, daily interactions. Um, so a lot of times, for example, a lot of bad things happen to people, and the easiest thing to do is basically repel the exact same thing they did to you. For example, yelling and screaming. If someone yells and screams at you, the inclined nature, easiest thing to do is just yell right back at them. Like, and I'm at fault of that too, and I'm always trying to fix that. But honestly, when you start loving yourself more, and you know that when someone is lashing out on you, um, it's okay. That's something that's going on internally with them. It doesn't mean that it needs to upset you. So most likely they need help, or, or something is going on, and perhaps you, by showing some kindness and a smile and repelling evil with kindness, is like our scriptures also says, and repel, I think it's Surah Fussilat, it's like Ayah 31, and repel evil by kindness, and whereas that person that was an enemy will become as he was a devoted friend. And that's really, really hard to do. A lot of times people will lash out, you become angry, do things to hurt you, and I mean, our internal instincts is just to do the same thing back to them. But as the course of what I figured out, learning and starting loving yourself more, that you don't want to do those things because it hurts you and it upsets you. So basically, for example, personal example, when you feel good about yourself, you naturally want to help others, and you'll go out of your way to help people. And then I did this personally too, but what happened was, in the beginning, I would help people thinking that they would do the same thing to me. So projects or things like that, I helped them out with all my heart, wore my heart on my sleeve. And then when I needed help, I went, of course, you go, all right, I'm going to go back to them and see if they would help me. They didn't. They didn't help you. They didn't even lift a finger. And you're just like, well, wait a minute. I just helped you doing all those things, and this is how you repay me. So, you know, you would get angry, and then you would lash out, and then you would start doubting yourself. That why did I even help in the first place? I shouldn't have been helped, and this and that. Pause. No, it's not that way. Change the focus from basically, if you help people just to get something back, it's doing business. Essentially, it's not kindness. So basically, now you have to help people with no expectations of getting any help back. So for example, I'm now teaching myself in my thought patterns, like, if you help somebody, first of all, make sure you have the resources to do it. Second, the time, because a lot of times you would help and you would not do your own things. So make sure you have the resources to do it, you have the time. And third, most important, don't expect anything from them. Do it out of the kindness of your heart and lower the expectations. That's where a lot of times we get hurt. We have high expectations of people that, oh, you scratch my back, I'll scratch your back. Essentially, like, that never works that way. And that's also essentially tied into what I've been talking about the past couple of days about loving yourself. If you love yourself, you know that how other people react to you and things like that won't bother you anymore. You're just going to be like, all right, it is what it is. People's natural colors will be shown, and you'll actually be thankful that happened, and now you can gauge yourself of who you can keep close to you, who you can't, who you can keep at a professional relationship, business relationship, or you can go a little bit deeper into friends. A lot of times that was warped, where you would you would have that a relationship that was supposed to be just business only. You made it a little bit deeper, and it ended up hurting you. Yeah, that was lots of stories on that. But anyway, essentially what's going on, basically, like, we are responsible for our own happiness. It should be a moral obligation. It should be a necessity that we should be happy with ourselves. That should be number one. I should be happy with myself, and everyone should be. And that's, we wouldn't have all these problems that are happening all over the world. I don't want to go too much into the Florida shooting, politics and all that, but just kind of to alight on that, the guy had mental issues. And if you had mental issues, first of all, if you didn't have mental issues, and he actually loved himself, I don't think he would have done this. A lot of times when people do things, they're not being loved. They're seeking love, and they're not getting it. So what happens when, if you don't love yourself, what happens if you don't love yourself? You're going to start seeking, ease of the heart through other things. And that's a lot of times kind of what I'm going to talk a little more deeper into. You're going to start seeking attachments and pleasure through unhealthy things that would not last so long. For example, this is why we have so many addiction problems with TV, drugs, alcohol, toxic relationships. That's basically the thing. Like, alcohol is huge in America. In our religion, they forbid it. Basically, it messes up your mind, body, and spirit. For example, people nowadays, they'll drink for every occasion. Celebration, drink. Things are having problems, drink. It's like a never-ending circle. And what happens is basically you grow attachments to that. And also, I kind of feel like not loving yourself is essentially a disconnected soul from God, and that basically seeks pleasure through means. We have people that are addicted to materialistic things. They're never satisfied. They always want the latest thing. They'll have like this iPhone craze. The person will have an iPhone 7, 8, 9. The new one comes out, they instantly don't like theirs. You're going to do the same exact things on your phone that the new phone will have. Now, there's certain things where you need to have it and you gotta have it, and we all fall prey to that. But, the fact that you're never satisfied, the disconnected soul basically will seek pleasure through alcohol, drugs, toxic relation, materialist things, which these things were never meant to ease the heart. The only thing that was meant to ease the heart was one thing, and one thing only, that was remembrance of God. God created that heart, and he's the only one that can bring pleasure to it. That's why a lot of times, let's give a prime example. When things are doing well, right? Do we talk to God a lot? Be honest. Like, are you talking to God a lot when things are going your way? You're the man, CEO, everything that you're saying is happening, kind of running everything? No, probably not. Perhaps, very small percent. Well, let's say things become hectic. Calamities happen. Now you're talking to God. And that's essentially what I was kind of, day one. We kind of treat God like a child. We only talk to him when we need things. Kind of a big thing to say basically is just like, do not let the blessings of God take you away from God. If God gave you a lot, use that. But to remember God more, try to remember God in the good times. That way he will remember you in the bad times, not the other way around. And that also takes a lot of courage. Like, basically, I'm always telling myself, like, God basically granted quite a lot of things. And basically, when he gives you quite a lot of blessings, a lot of times you kind of shy away from the remembrance of God. It should be basically use the blessings that God gave you to increase your remembrance, and also help other people seek God. That's very powerful right there. A lot of times, unfortunately, myself included, there are times where we'll stray, and then God will be like, he's kind of observing up there, and he's kind of like a hands off of prayer. He'll see everything, and then he's going to observe, and he's going to see, okay, my servants are not really remembering me. So sometimes he calls you by trials and tribulations. That's his way of you seeking him, or him seeking you. And we shouldn't let it get to that point, whereas vice versa, if you are always constantly talking to God through the good and the bad, when things happen that weren't unexpected, or that kind of came a curveball from left field and you didn't see it coming, you'll be happy. There's a famous saying in our kind of saying, is basically it's a hadith, that how beautiful is the fare of a believer. Something good happens to him, he's happy. Something bad happens to him, he is patient. So know that basically things that happen to you are essentially meant to happen to you to grow you, to maybe help you learn something, or maybe you're supposed to be the lesson for the other person. So it's kind of crazy. We when we seek God, we try to become more like him. God has all these divine attributes: the most merciful, the most kind, the all knowledgeable. And how is it basically like you were sinning all your life, or you were kind of not around him and didn't really think about God, but he blessed you with so many things. He gave you so many things, and then when you start coming closer to God, you actually realize that. So basically, in terms of that, you will start seeing in terms of basically, what am I trying to say here? A disconnected soul, essentially, right? Seeks unhealthy attachments, and basically is unhappy with themselves, and that in turn basically wreaks havoc on you not loving yourself, not taking care of yourself, and basically think you are taking care of yourself by devoting yourself into things that essentially take you away from your divine connection in terms of that. So what do I mean by that? So basically, in terms of so for example, basically people that are not loving themselves, right, will lash out on others and basically make them feel like they're doing something wrong. So a lot of times the good-hearted people, the people that are trying to help people, meet people that are basically not happy with themselves. And what do we get? We get their essentially garbage. We basically get things that happen. And at first, if you meet someone, first you have to basically have a divine connection with yourself, that how people act towards you is a reflection of themselves. So you didn't do anything wrong. If they did something wrong towards you, first of all, it's okay. They acted that way. You be happy with yourself, and just know that they just need help. We're all lost. We're all trying to find God our own way. Basically, in terms of that, so repelling evil by kindness. So things that happen to you, you should be kind. It's very hard to do. That is very hard to do. If people are mean to you, the easiest thing to do is to be mean right back to them. Right? Someone yells at you, someone's angry at you. What do? Do the same thing. And that's real tough. Like, for example, like our parents, we're real good with this. How many times will I yell at my father? Or how many times will I yell at my family? And, if they were okay, a lot of times I would yell at my parents, and then they wouldn't react. They would just basically be happy, or be like, it's okay. I don't understand that until many, many years later, in terms of basically they knew that something was wrong, or basically were fighting internal demons or things like that. So they basically weren't mad at you. They were okay. And that's all right. That basically, hey, man, we're all imperfect, myself included. I am not, these videos here are basically not to say that I am up there, I'm doing everything on my own, I'm perfect. No, these videos are basically here to show you that I kind of feel like I have something to share. Uh, and we all should share things that we think might benefit other people. And a lot of times, there would be certain things that happen to me. I replayed the video, and I was like, man, that made so much sense. So, kind of going all over the place here, but basically, coming back to here, like a kind of a main theme in terms of like loving yourself more will essentially create happiness for yourself. And we all should be morally obligated to be happy with ourselves. Because if we are happy with ourselves, we will meet people in a better way and will help them more. And basically, we won't have these damaging relationships. And a lot of times, a damaged relationship or someone that basically is lashing out on others or is angry is basically hasn't found love, hasn't found God's love, hasn't found his own love, and basically he's reacting in many different ways. So, going back to circling a lot of things that I do believe, not to go deeply into religions, all the religions have that one central theme of basically finding God and being, kind to basically his servants, whether they deserve it or not. And basically that turns to basically, for example, since I love myself more, right? You would basically not seek these unhealthy attachments. I could guarantee you the alcohol, the drugs, that poisons the mind and severs your connection with God, essentially. In our religion, basically, if you're on those things, your prayers aren't even accepted. Because here's the thing, it's just like your natural inclination, divine connection has a connection with God. And what happens is people seek the drugs, alcohol to escape reality. But the problems and yourself basically are still there. You have to face yourself in terms of being comfortable being alone. That's why music is so prevalent in this society. It just makes you not think. You escape, and you won't basically have those conversations with yourself. Many years, like I was saying, like your inner voice, the gut instinct, the talks you have inside yourself. If you aren't loving yourself and you aren't seeking God, all the time, that's going to become a very negative voice and will actually, make you do bad things and make you basically stray off the path. Many years I was on that too. But when you start seeking God, that voice will always be there. There's always going to be, the natural inclinations of the soul to basically do things that are not divine. But you fight that. So, if you have a healthy connection with God, healthy connection, right? You start essentially developing some of his characteristics. When you develop some of his characteristics, it helps you improve your character with yourself, love yourself more, and then also shed that light. So essentially, you are just influencing people just by the way you act. And it's an improvement every day. A lot of times if we're feeling really good, we'll have the great talk, and then when something happens, we forget about that. But, it's all on that. So, loving yourself, right? Let's try not to seek unhealthy attachments. I talked about the other talk, mental diet, basically not watching TV, not listening to music, doing things that actually make you feed positivity into yourself. I talked about in the past 2 days about loving yourself. Are you waking up at a certain time to talk to God? Are you waking up and you sitting down and are you having a conversation with God through prayer, through meditation, in complete silence? Are you exercising? Are you taking care of that body? Some form of exercise and a healthy breakfast are the key things to start your day. Every morning you should be doing that. And then when you start realizing when you wake up early, right, you're going to have some time to yourself. and basically you're gonna have some time to yourself, and that's where you seek that internal happiness through remembering God. Through the remembrance of God, your heart becomes calm, uh, and you get this overwhelming feeling of gratitude. Like like I said before, basically, one of our sayings is, um, in the morning, everything is all about just thankfulness and remembering God at every moment. So when you wake up, thank you, God, gave me life again today. You're blessed with another 24 hours today, right? You had a bad day yesterday, forget about it. Today's a new day. They always say, don't worry. Whatever happened yesterday, don't let it ruin your today. So you grew as a person. If something bad happened to you, and I guarantee if you woke up early, you prayed, you had some time with yourself, you felt healthy, you reflected, and you grew from that. And you realize that is that how the higher self of you should be acting. The higher self of you should be acting through the divine attributes of God. When you seek Him, He wants you to draw near. You'll start learning about these things. How God was always with you. How the parents were always with you. They were always there. You did things wrong, they always were there. You messed up with people, and that's how you also judge people's character. Um, a lot of times I was wrong with things. I was always the first one to apologize. Or even people were wrong with me, I would apologize. Hey, man, maybe there was something that we did that got us off on the wrong foot. My apologies. A lot of times, we can't always see into people's minds. But I do know one thing, that when you seek God and you it's like you're given this gift, right? And you just want to share it with everybody. Like, it feels so good to remember God, to be around Him, to seek Him, and you just want everyone else to do that, because you see how it makes you feel, and you just want other people to be happy. And that's a lot of kind of things on basically what pushed me to do this. That I'm observing that there's a lot of people that are just not happy, and I hope that basically these talks are helping. Sort of a reminder for myself, everyone, that if you start loving yourself a little more, doing simple things, you will start remembering God, and you'll get an overwhelming gratitude that He loved you. He's loving you. He's gifting you things. Everyone has these talents, these gifts. And if you start loving yourself more, you start realizing what your gifts are. And He starts basically using you to help heal, or using you in some way to benefit the community in some way. So, circling all back, mental health, your thoughts with yourself, are very important. And I hope, think about these couple things, reflect, give me some comments, suggestions. Um, a lot of things that I'm saying or have already been said before. A lot of time, all this information you hear has been said, but sometimes people present it in different ways, and it might hit you. So it might be just that one notion that hits you, and then you start thinking about it, and you're like, you know what, that's right. And I do believe we all learn from each other. Um, this is still new to me, but like I said, I kind of feel it helps. Getting some good feedback from the other 2 videos I did. And it feels good. So just a recap of kind of everything. It's very easy to, when bad things or people kind of show you, basically act with you in a certain way, it's very easy to do the same exact thing to them. Oh, he did this to me, I'm going to do the same thing to him. First we should basically stop that inclination and pause. Something just happened, an argument just happened. Don't give the same energy back, and then it will diffuse itself. Helping people with no expectation of getting anything back. Like I said before, if you help people and you expect something from them, that's business. If you help people just because that's who you are, that shows character, that's how you should be treating people, don't expect anything back. You feel better that way. Expectations destroy relationships, and lowering your expectations is great. If they do something, that's awesome. If not, you've already accepted that. So right before I'm helping people or I'm doing anything, I already know I tell myself I'm not going to get anything back. that they might even act worse than before I helped them, which will trick you because you would think helping people will make the relationship grow. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes God just tests you by sending people your way. You help them, and you essentially help yourself by improving your connection. That you help someone, I don't need it. I don't expect anything from them, and it trains you to do it more and more, and to basically seek God more and more in all different types of situations. A disconnected soul seeks unhealthy attachments. Many things. A disconnected soul that basically is not remembering God quite a lot will seek unhealthy means to basically forget about the uneasiness that the heart has with the mind, the body, and soul. So we're going to be watching too much TV. We're going to be basically watching things we're not supposed to be watching. Drugs, alcohol, overeating. All these things basically make you forget about the mind, body, and spirit. Once you start eliminating those things, you start having conversations. You face your inner self. And those thoughts you need to be facing. And that basically will help you seek a better connection with God. And then when you realize, when you do have a great connection with God, you don't want to sever that. You don't want to basically have anything that would basically destroy that. So like TV, as I mentioned before, I haven't watched TV in like it's now 3 months, and I feel big difference that what you're feeding your mind, it portrays into everything you do. So, what videos are you watching? What do you constantly do every day? What goes into your mind? So a lot of times, those things will help yourself, and you'll also in turn do that with people too, because there's people that basically will portray a lot of things and try to make you throw you off your game, throw negativity your way. You will repel that by either seeking to diffuse that or just not being around them. And yes, you can't always just control everything and everything that you view, but you can actually control what goes into your mind. That this is a sacred thing, and your negativity, I'm not going to allow that. So a lot of times you will train yourself. It will bring out courage inside you when you see things that are that are wrong, and it's disturbing you. You're going to speak out about it because you love yourself. I love myself that what you're doing to me is wrong, and you do it in a noble way. Or you just kind of just be mature about it and just walk away about things, How people act towards you is a reflection of themselves. How you react is a reflection of yourself. So if someone yells at you and is angry at you, and you do the same thing, you lost too, because that was a reflection of your inner state too. So, and by the way, that's a very tough thing to do. A lot of times when you're in a heated argument, or if I'm talking with my wife or my family, and they say something nasty, me, and tell you, women, they can hit you with some psychological words that you would never think of, that just throw you off your game. But there's a famous thing: one of you is fire, the other should be water. So one of you is real angry. If you're real angry, the conversation just gets stronger. But if one of you is cool, or you don't allow the conversation, like someone's yelling at you, if you're just quiet, the conversation will eventually stop. So it's just mental training, Your mental diet will increase your mental training. And that's done through many things. So loving yourself, seeking a divine connection, seeking healthy attachments to things that will actually progress your mind, body, and spirit, will essentially help you create more divine attributes to be more like God. Be more merciful. Let your anger be more. Let your mercy be stronger than your anger. Kindness, internal, basically dialogue with yourself, your mind and body will be more positive. You won't criticize yourself more. You won't. A lot of times we'll be very good, and bad things happen to us. We start hating ourselves. Why did this happen to me? Oh, am I a bad person? This and that? No. Loving yourself is like, you know what? Even if you don't know, okay, something happened to me, talk to yourself in a loving, peaceful way. And that will help you. And it will help you carry on through those tough moments. And remember, sometimes a trial and tribulation, or sometimes things not going your way, is also a lesson. Like there's this quote I read somewhere: when life hurts, observe. It's trying to teach you something. Or it's also God just trying to have you talk to him. You might have not talked to him. And final point is, let's all the blessings you have, I grant you everyone's has some sort of, but let's not let those blessings take you away from God. Use it to think more of God. You know, like, thank you, God, you gave me so much. You know, I'm very thankful for you. Seek God basically in the good times. If you seek God in the good times, he's going to always have your back in the bad times. Let's not do it the other way around. And unfortunately, that's basically a bad habit we've now, started, that I only talk to God when things are going well. You know, the college student, oh, God, please help me pass this exam. I need your help. But, the exam was going to be easy if you basically studied all throughout the semester. And a lot of times, it goes back to that, famous thing, like, do your part, then trust God. Don't do anything and pray and then wonder why things are not happening. You need to do your part too, right? And that also shows you by loving yourself more, things like that. So that was, quite a lot. I went a little bit longer today, but some good points. And like I said, please keep the comments coming, the suggestions coming, or any topics. I do believe when you talk and things happen, you start seeking yourself more. And I kind of realized that every time I have a talk, I speak for like 20, 30 minutes, I realize something that I should go more deeper in, and then I do that the next day. And then the next day, I do that, and then all these other topics get unfolded. So I think it's just a lot of good stuff out there. This is just one video and a whole bunch of your news feed that I hope benefits there. You can also check your news feed. What is in your news feed? Is it stuff that is benefiting you, or is it stuff that just kind of distracts you? It's all just mental dieting. Again, food diet, mental diet. What are you feeding your mind? Because this is a computer. If you feed it positive things, it's going to give you positive results. If you feed it negative things, it's just going to give you negative things, And it's a very beautiful thing once you start seeing that. And remember, the heart is also, can only be calmed by the remembrance of God. And his scriptures. If you don't do that, the heart starts wanting things that is not unhealthy and is never going to satisfy you. And that's why you see so many people that do drugs and alcohol, they continue to do it because it's unsatisfying. Or seeking material things. They find pleasure in obtaining material things, which won't do anything for them. Only the remembrance of God will do that. So I'm going to end it here. Remember, God loves you. He always does love you. He always has. And I think it's time that you guys start loving yourself. You owe it to yourself. We owe it to ourselves to be happy. We should be happy. We should be happy human beings. Can you imagine if the whole world was happy with themselves? What we would be able to do? And it all just starts with one person. If you can, and that's what I'm trying to do here. I'm hoping it might just reach that one person that looks himself in the mirror and hates himself and realizes that there's always hope. There's always hope. And that's what we should do. We should always instill hope in people. Because that's what this life is all about. We should be making people happy. We should be making people feel good about themselves. And that in turn will help, because if one person feels good about himself, he'll go home and love his family more. If you reach one person, he'll help people around his, or it's a circle, like the inner circles. So think about that. I think it's about time we start doing that. We start loving ourselves more. We start seeking God more. And I'm going to keep it coming. Throw some topics your way, things that you normally go through day to day. And I'll read on it, and we'll go from there. And, thank you again for taking some time out of your day to listen. I hope it helped. And, have a wonderful day today. It's raining outside. Doesn't mean it should be a bad day. It's a wonderful day because you woke up today. We're given life today. What are you going to do with these 24 hours, all right? Have a wonderful day. Take care.